Hello, Fantasy Labbers. I am Brian. I'm here with Ian. Every week he writes a couple matchup articles, one on wide receiver cornerback and two on the line play. One's focusing on the run and the other focusing on the pass. And we're going to record a video that is going to walk through a couple of the good matchups and a couple of the bad matchups. Good being we want to focus on the passers and the pass catchers from these guys. So the first one we're going to start out with is the Arizona Cardinals versus the Indianapolis Colts. We saw them get absolutely smashed by Jared Goff and the LA Rams last week. Carson Palmer, not so great, no DJ. And I think that's one of the big questions of week 2, Ian, is Carson Palmer hashtag really bad now, or does it even matter against the Colts?
Yeah, that's what we're struggling with, man. Palmer could be washed. That's a very certain possibility for this aging. He's got to be in the high 30s by now. But anyway, yeah, he's missing David Johnson. DJ Humphries, their left tackle, is also doubtful for the game. So even with this depleted Cardinals offense, they get the only defense that forced fewer pressures in the league than the Lions last year. So as good as that matchup for Palmer last week was, this one is somehow even better. We got this Colts defense, can't force pressure. They literally replaced all 11 starters from last season, so we can't really bank on continuity to all of a sudden start getting some pressure. And we just saw Jared Goff complete 7 passes of 20-plus yards last week after only having 12 such passes as a rookie. So we have Larry Fitzgerald and John Brown. Smokey Brown looked healthy last week, played the majority of the snaps. And if Carson Palmer can just have a little more time, he was pressured on 22 of his 49 dropbacks last week, he should have a chance to attack the secondary that's without Vontae Davis and really has no business covering these receivers. Yeah,
definitely a good spot. And they are playing in Indianapolis on that fast turf. So some of these guys, John Brown especially, J.J. Nelson, but also Larry maybe have a bounce back. Question is, can Palmer get it to him, get it to these guys? But if he can, it's so much upside in GPPs for sure. Cool. All right, let's talk about another good matchup. And this probably isn't a big surprise. A guy who had an offense that had a pretty good week in week 1 and now get a pretty good matchup here, the Raiders versus the New York Jets. What are your thoughts on this offensive potential for the Raiders this week?
Yeah, Vegas likes the Raiders' chance of repeating. They got the second highest implied total right now, and they get a Jets defense that, as we saw last week, isn't as good against the run anymore, and they continue to really not be good against the pass. They had the lowest adjusted sack rate last season as a defense. Meanwhile, the Raiders have had a top 5 offensive line and adjusted sack rate for the last 3 years. They've made it a priority to keep Derek Carr off his back his entire career, and it's warranted. He had a 25-3 touchdown to interception ratio last year when he was kept clean. And last week, just 5 of his 35 dropbacks came under pressure. So home quarterback, facing what we could probably call a reverse funnel defense, even though their run game funnel isn't as good anymore, in a really good spot. So.
Yeah. I mean, funnel everywhere. But, yeah, I think that's a good point with this elite offensive line. Derek Carr might have like 25 seconds on every throw, like just as long as he wants. Yeah. So, yeah, he'll definitely have time. Amari Cooper getting all the red zone work now. So, definitely a offense that you might want to look at for sure. All right, let's talk about a couple bad matchups. And the first one we're going to discuss is the Dallas Cowboys. In our other videos, the breakdowns, we've talked a lot about Zeke versus Dez Bryant. And I guess Prescott is a fitting guy to wrap this up. So what are your thoughts on Dak and sort of the pass offense as a whole against Denver?
Yeah, so the big issue here, this Cowboy offensive line replaced 2 linemen. A lot of people thought they might struggle with Chaz Green at left guard now and La'el Collins at right tackle. Wasn't a huge issue against the Giants, but now we have La'el Collins, who played guard for the past 2 seasons, basically getting Von Miller every down. It's not a bad matchup between Miller and Tyron Smith, but when Tyron Smith might only see Miller for a few snaps, it really doesn't do the Cowboys any good. Neither Collins nor Chaz Green graded out very well last week per PFF, and Derek Wolf's another guy in the interior that can really bring attention to that issue and kind of get after Prescott a little bit. We talked in the run game portion of our front 7 talk about how the Cowboys, might just really try to pound the ball against this Denver secondary. And considering Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady are the only guys to throw for over 250 yards in Denver over the past 2 seasons, it's hard to see Dak or the Cowboys even taking enough chances to really give him upside this week.
Yeah, definitely a final defense towards the run. And I think that that's definitely going to be the case in week 2. All right, one more matchup that is going to be bad. You might want to fade this passing game this week in week 2. The Philadelphia Eagles and Carson Wentz, who was the cash game darling of week 1 and came through, but maybe not so good here in week 2.
Yeah, hopping off the Wentz wagon this week. We saw what a healthy Justin Houston could do last week against the Patriots, and that was basically get PFF's highest pass rushing productivity score of the week. No more Eric Berry, which is a shame, and kind of sneaky Zach Ertz GPP potential there. But, again, we have a defense that proved last week against Brady that they're more than capable of getting after the quarterback. He was under pressure on 14 of 40 dropbacks. And now they face Carson Wentz, who basically posted the lowest QB rating aside from Matt Barkley under pressure last season. They have new wide receivers that, could theoretically help mitigate that problem. But between Torrey, Alshon, and Aguilar, all of them ranked in the bottom half of separation per NFL next-gen stats, which is another issue against the Chiefs defense that plays a ton of man coverage. And while Lane Johnson and Jason Peters are 2 of the better tackles you'll find, Peters is dealing with a groin injury right now, questionable for Sunday, and he's the one that's going to be responsible for Justin Houston. So Chiefs defense, they allowed, only 4.7 adjusted net yards per attempt in Arrowhead last season, and Eagles are walking into a buzzsaw.
Yeah, definitely going to be a tough matchup in week 2. All right, Ian, appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on with us, and we'll talk to you in week 3, discuss some more pass offenses.
Thanks, Brian.